On the morning of May 15th, 2024, a bitter wind swept across the gray waters near Bluff, a remote fishing town clinging to the southern edge of New Zealand's South Island. The sky hung low, heavy with clouds that threatened rain but refused to break, casting a muted light over the rocky shoreline. A small crew of fishermen, 3 weathered men in oilskin jackets, their faces etched with years of salt and sun, had just returned to the dock after a long night trawling for cod. Their boat, a rusted vessel named the Southern Hull, bobbed against the weathered pilings, its hull creaking with every swell. As they unloaded their catch, one of the men, a wiry figure named Tom Harker, noticed something tangled in the kelp just beyond the breakwater. At first, he thought it was driftwood, pale and jagged against the dark water. But as the waves pushed it closer, he froze. It was a body, bloated, waterlogged, and unnaturally still. The men exchanged uneasy glances, their hands pausing over the nets. They'd seen their fair share of grim sights at sea, drowned seals, bloated fish, but this was different. The air felt heavier, the wind sharper, as if the ocean itself wanted to be rid of its burden. They hauled the body ashore with a grappling hook, the corpse dragging across the pebbled beach with a wet scrape. It was a man, his skin sickly gray, his eyes half open and clouded over. He wore an extreme condition sport coat, its high-tech fabric torn at the seams, but still clinging to his frame. The kind of gear meant for mountaineers or explorers, not fishermen. His face, though swollen from days in the water, held a strange expression. Not fear, but an unrelenting determination, as if he died mid-thought, mid-fight. The men stood over him, their breath visible in the cold air, none of them eager to touch him further. One of the fishermen, a younger man named Eli, noticed a faint bulge in the coat's inner pocket. With hesitant fingers, he unzipped it and pulled out a cracked smartphone. Its screen a spiderweb of fractures, but its casing still sealed against the elements. The device felt heavy in his hand, heavier than it should have, as if it carried more than just plastic and circuits. They handed it over to the local authorities later that day, a small team of officers who arrived in a mud-splattered jeep, their faces grim as they bagged the body and the phone. The corpse was later identified as 34-year-old Gordon Ledger, a freelance journalist and conspiracy theorist known for chasing wild stories, alien sightings, government cover-ups, the kind of thing most people laughed off. But there was no laughter now. The authorities extracted a single audio file from the phone's damaged memory, a recording of Gordon's last moments, his voice echoing from the depths of the a.i.nightmares caves, a labyrinthian network beneath Fjordland. As the officers listened, the wind howled louder outside the station, and the fluorescent lights flickered, casting long shadows across the room. Well, isn't this just the vacation of a lifetime? Gordon Ledger here, reporting live from the scenic a.i.nightmares caves. 5 stars for the ambiance, 0 for the landing. I am currently sprawled on a rock by an underground river. I think my spine's broken. Legs useless. I'm pretty sure I'm bleeding internally. But hey, at least the view's to die for. Oh wait, I already am. If you're listening to this, congratulations. You found my sorry corpse. Do me a favor and make sure this recording gets out there. I didn't drag myself into this hellhole just to be another ghost story. I've always known I was meant for this kind of thing. My name's Ledger, for crying out loud. I was born to keep a record of the world's dirty little secrets. Ever since I was a kid, I've been poking my nose where it doesn't belong. Got my first black eye at 12 for sneaking into the principal's office to prove he was skimming lunch funds. By 20, I was a freelance journalist, chasing leads on everything from corrupt politicians to UFO sightings. People called me crazy, but I've got a nose for the truth, and it led me here, to the biggest story of my life, and apparently the last. 6 months ago, I started hearing about weird stuff happening in New Zealand. I was in a dingy Auckland bar, nursing a beer and scrolling through conspiracy forums on my phone. Don't judge, it's my happy place. Locals were talking about people going missing in Fjordland, remote areas where you'd expect to find more sheep than humans. But it wasn't just disappearances. Survivors, the few who came back, were babbling about things in the brush. Creatures that looked human, but moved wrong, sounded wrong. They'd hear their own voices calling them, mimicking their cries for help, luring them deeper into the trees. One guy swore he saw his dead sister's face in one of those things before it chased him into a ravine. He broke both ankles, but lived to tell the tale. I heard enough of those stories to know it wasn't just mass hysteria. I dug deeper. Turns out, those descriptions match Navajo legends from the States. Skinwalkers, shapeshifters, evil spirits that wear human skin like a cheap suit. Well, I'm no expert on Native American lore, but I know a pattern when I see one. Skinwalkers in New Zealand? That's not a coincidence. That's a lead. So I started pulling threads, the way I always do. Late nights, bad coffee, and a lot of sketchy internet rabbit holes later, I found something that made my blood run cold. A group called the Order of the Abyssal Veil. Yeah, I know. Sounds like a bad metal band. But stick with me, this gets worse. The Order isn't some local cult of nutjobs. They're a global cabal, a twisted mashup of the Illuminati, Bohemian Grove, Scientology, and CERN. I've been chasing conspiracies long enough to know these groups have their claws in everything. But this was next level. From what I pieced together, the Illuminati brought their centuries-old playbook, secret influence, hidden agendas, the kind of stuff that keeps conspiracy theorists up at night. Bohemian Grove added their ritualistic flair. Those rich weirdos in California had been doing their cremation of care nonsense for decades, burning effigies to something they called Moloch. I found accounts claiming it's not just theater. They're summoning things, offering blood to entities they think they can control. In Scientology, they threw in their batshit ideology, a warped version of their Thetan beliefs, saying these entities are demons. Let's call a spade, are ancient extraterrestrials we need to commune with. And CERN, they brought the tech. The Large Hadron Collider wasn't just smashing particles for science fair points. Leaked docs I found on a dark web server showed they've been messing with dimensional rifts since 2016, trying to tear holes in reality. The Order of the Abyssal Veil is the glue that's holding this whole nightmare together. Their goal? Open physical gateways to what they call the Abyssal Realm. Most sane people would call it hell. They think they could harness whatever's on the other side. Demons, skinwalkers, you name it, to rule the world. They've been building these demon gates in underground caverns across the globe, but the Waipuna caves here in Fjordland are their crown jewel. The caves are a maze of tunnels and caverns, stretching for miles beneath the surface. Most of it unmapped. I found coordinates pointing to Teanau Lake on a Scientology-linked server. Encrypted, of course. But I've cracked tougher codes than that. Figured it was my shot to blow the lid off this thing. I packed light but smart. This sport coat I'm wearing? Extreme condition gear. Waterproof, tear-resistant. The kind of thing you'd wear when you're dumb enough to go spelunking in a demon-infested cave. I grabbed my camera, this phone, a few protein bars, and a flask of whiskey. Priorities, right? I drove to Lake Teanau under a moonless sky. The kind of dark that makes everything feel wrong. Found a crevice near the lake's edge, marked with a symbol I'd seen in my research. An owl clutching a book, straight out of Bohemian Grove and Illuminati iconography. I wedged myself through, flashlight in hand, and started descending. The tunnels were a nightmare right out of a horror flick. Jagged walls, slick with condensation, carved with runes that glowed this faint, sickly red. The air was heavy, like breathing through a wet rag, and every step echoed like a gunshot. I must have gone a mile down, maybe more, when I heard it, chanting, low and guttural, bouncing off the stone. My gut told me to turn back, but my gut's been wrong before. I kept going, following the sound deeper into the earth. Damn it. This hurts more than I thought it would. I can't keep my eyes open. I'll finish this. I have to. Damn it. Did I pass out? Yeah, definitely passed out. Great. Just what I needed. A nap in the middle of my big expose. Where was I? Right. I was in the belly of the beast, following that creepy chanting. If you're still listening, you're either braver than I am, or just really bored. Either way, let's get back to it. So there I was, a mile underground, maybe more, following the sound of that chanting. My flashlight was starting to flicker. Cheap piece of junk. Should have sprung for a good one. The air down there was so thick I could barely breathe, like sucking in wet cement. And the walls were slick with that slimy moss that smelled like rotting fish. Every step was a gamble. One wrong move, and I'd be sliding into some abyss. Guess I called that one, huh? Anyway, the chanting got louder. This low, guttural hum that made my teeth ache. I rounded a bend in the tunnel, and there it was. Their ritual chamber. Now, I've seen some weird stuff in my time, but this was something else. The cavern was massive, bigger than any cathedral I'd ever been in. with stalactites hanging down like jagged teeth. In the center was a circular platform, black stone polished to a mirror's shine, carved with symbols I'd seen in those leaked CERN docs. Equations for bending space-time, if you believe the conspiracy nuts. I do, by the way. Above the platforms, there was this rift. A tear in the air, shimmering like heat off pavement. But it was glowing this sick red color, pulsing like a heartbeat. I couldn't look at it for too long. It made my eyes burn. And I swear I felt something staring back at me. Something that knew I was there. That's when I saw the skinwalkers. They came through the rift, stepping out one by one like they were clocking in for a shift. They were tall, gaunt things, their limbs bending at angles that made my stomach churn. Their eyes were hollow, just black pits, and their skin was like it couldn't decide what it wanted to be. It shifted, melted, stretched, like they were trying on different faces but couldn't get it right. One of them turned its head, and for a second, I thought it looked like my old editor, Dave. Same crooked nose, same sneer. Then it opened its mouth, and I heard Dave's voice telling me to come closer, Gordon. Got a scoop for you. I nearly pissed myself. These things weren't just monsters. They were mimics, pulling memories right out of your head. There were people there too, members of the Order of the Abyssal Veil. They were decked out in cloaks, some with Scientology's double triangle emblem stitched on, others with the Illuminati's all-seeing eye. Real classy bunch. They were chanting in some language I couldn't place. Sounded like a mix of Latin and a dying cat. They had a bowl on the platform, filled with something dark. Blood, I'm guessing. Though I wasn't about to go taste test it. They were pouring it into the rift, and every time they did, the thing pulsed brighter, like it was hungry. One of them, a tall guy with a shaved head and a voice like gravel, started talking about the Great Convergence. Said the gates would be fully open soon, and their masters would walk the earth. I put two and two together and realized the skinwalkers weren't the main event. They were just the opening act, scouting our world for whatever's coming next. I was hiding behind a stalagmite, recording it all in my phone, trying not to breathe too loud. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold the damn thing. I needed a better angle on the rift, proof, something undeniable to show the world. So I moved just a few feet, crawling on my belly like a worm. Big mistake. My foot hit a loose rock, and it clattered across the cavern floor, loud as a gunshot in that echoey hellhole. The skinwalkers snapped their heads toward me, moving like they were on strings, all jerky and wrong. The cloaked assholes stopped chanting, and one of them shouted something I didn't catch. Didn't need to. I knew I was screwed. I bolted, and my camera slipped out of my hands and smashed on the ground. I didn't stop to pick it up. Not that stupid. I could hear them behind me, the skinwalkers, their footsteps all uneven, like they couldn't decide how many legs they needed. They were mimicking my voice now, calling my name. Gordon, Gordon, where are you going, buddy? in this warped sing-song way that made my skin crawl. I found a narrow crevice in the wall, barely wide enough for me to fit, and I squeezed through, scraping my arms bloody on the rock, despite my fancy jacket. I thought I lost him, but the ground on the other side was slicker than I expected, covered in that damn moss. Well, my boots slipped, and down I went. Fell about 30 feet, maybe more. Landed right on this rock. Heard my spine snap like a dry twig. Real pleasant sound. I can't feel my legs, and every breath feels like I'm swallowing glass. But I'm not done yet. I can still see a pinprick of light in the distance, down where the river's flowing. Might be a way out. Might be my ticket to getting this story to the world. I'm dragging myself over there now, inch by inch. Gonna swim my way out if I have to. Broken spine or not, I'm not letting these bastards win. The Order of the Abyssal Veil. They're everywhere. In governments, religions, science. They're gonna open those gates. And when they do, it's game over unless someone stops them. The world needs to know. Hey everyone, thank you so much for listening again to one of my crazy tales. This one had a little bit of a different vibe to it. What I mean is that it didn't end with like some profound moral, which is like the staple of most of my stories. I wanted you to feel Gordon's ending as he felt it. So just having it end abrupt like that, it felt right for the story. Okay, let's talk about the writing process. I already had the title and I already had the prompts and the idea moving forward. So I had the AI help me out a little bit with fleshing it out. But of course, once again, it was all in my hands to tweak things, change things, and make sure the final draft is what I want to narrate. And of course, none of this is possible without your support. Liking, subscribing, and commenting are the lifeblood of all of our creative people's channels. And I will continue to say that until I'm blue in the face. Okay, now it's time for my plug rant. I'm on YouTube as well as Rumble. You can find me on both sites. I have an Instagram account, which is of course a.i.nightmares, and the link is in the description on both my YouTube and Rumble pages. I will use it as something to reach out to people and for people to reach out to me. If you have some story ideas you want me to narrate, or if you want my help narrating something, just know that if I do a story, I will definitely credit you at the beginning and the end of the video so everybody knows who you are. I'm not exactly at the level of Patreon yet, so I use a Buy Me a Coffee link if you'd like to contribute to my creative process. It is always appreciated. And remember, it's okay to be scared sometimes. I am too. Embrace the strange. Embrace opportunities. Embrace your legacy. And I'll see you in the next story.